This week on Quality Digest Live, we examine IATF 16949 transition guidelines and audit findings with Chad Keimel of Omnex.
Plus a fresh perspective on unmanned aircraft systems, which the rest of us call drones, from QD editorial director Taryn March. All that and more when we come back.
This episode of Quality Digest Live is brought to you by Mitutoyo America. Whatever your metrology challenges, Mitutoyo supports you from start to finish.
Welcome back to Quality Digest Live for August 18th, 2017. QDL is your weekly look at who and what is making the news in the world of quality. I'm Dirk Ducharme, Editor-in-Chief of Quality Digest.
That's right, and I'm Quality Digest publisher Mike Richmond. Well, you know, students across the United States are currently, or soon will be, returning to school. Boo, for all you poor students out there. But now that means it's the perfect time for this first story on our show today, which combines STEM education and one of the largest and most important youth organizations in the country. Girl Scouts offer new badges for science, technology, engineering, and math is the name of an Associated Press article that appeared late last month, and we linked out to it in Monday's issue of the Quality Digest newsletter. Well, according to the piece, the Girl Scouts of America recently added 23 new badges, Dirk. It's an impressive haul of new badges, all in the STEM area, and that's actually the largest addition of new badges for the group in a decade. Girl Scouts can now earn badges for things like robotics, engineering, computer programming, race car and aviation design, and artificial intelligence, to name just a few. And next year, there are plans to offer a badge in cybersecurity as well. Imagine that. And many of these badges, and this is interesting, I thought, part of this story, many of the badges were requested by the Girl Scouts themselves. Girl Scouts said to leadership, the Scout leaders, hey, this is the stuff we want to get badges in, you know? I mean, it's great to get them in some of the home ec stuff and the other stuff, but this is the stuff we want.
That's interesting because we've been pushing STEM.
Yeah, we have.
And now it's being pulled.
From the kids themselves.
From the kids themselves. That's awesome.
It's pretty cool. And you know, women really continue to be underrepresented in STEM-related industries. For example, according to one study quoted in the article, 69% of women who did not pursue careers in information technology, as an example, didn't do so because they simply didn't know about the field's opportunities. That's really interesting, insightful study there. Now, there's nearly 2 million Girl Scouts in the United States, so these badges offer the opportunity to influence a significant number of future scientists, engineers, and mathematicians. And who knows, maybe even some future metrologists as well, right? I mean,
that's what I'm waiting for, the metrology badge.
You know what? I'm not at all going to be surprised that actually happens.
Little caliper,
you know?
a micrometer.
But I mean, you think about that. I mean, 23 badges
portable arm
and all these things. These young ladies, and you know, the Girl Scouts are obviously, a lot of them are young kids, 6, teens. 7, 8, but there's up to teens. And I mean, these are kids that are going to maybe for the first time be exposed to this stuff. There's some stories in the article. There's one story in particular about a woman who basically was exposed to a lot of stuff in the Girl Scouts, you know, decades ago, and then went on to become, I think she's working with one of the jet propulsion places. And it's really cool that she learned that through the Girl Scouts, and this next generation of girls will kind of get exposed to it through the Girl Scouts too.
Well, cool to me, the most exciting part about that is that it's being asked for. I mean, the pull part of that to me is the interesting thing. I mean, that's when you know you've kind of turned a corner, is like, you're not having to push ideas at people. Look, this is interesting. This is interesting. They're going, no, we know it's interesting. Give us more. Give us more. That's great.
And that's it's a good organization. I think it's great that they offer that to their scouts. Cool stuff.
Okay, well, changing gears here a little bit. Let's talk about the IATF 16949. Globally, right now, there are more than 68,000 organizations certified to ISO TS 16949-2009 that will need to undergo a transition audit to the new IATF 16949-2016.
Exactly.
As of April 2017, only 181 of these audits have been completed.
Out of 68,000?
Out of 68,000, but remember, it's new. So the audits are happening now, the transition's happening now. But here's the interesting bit, is out of those 181 audits, there was an average of about 5.3 nonconformities in nearly one major nonconformity per audit. So what these nonconformities were for is actually kind of interesting. We'll get to that a little bit. And also just maybe why the IATF transition from the ISO to the IATF 16949, why this seems to be maybe a little rough right now. We're going to talk about that with Chad Keimel of Omnex, who is joining us here via Skype. Hi, Chad.
Hi, Mike and Dirk. How are you guys?
Oh, pretty good. All right, so as I said, as of April 2017, and you actually write about this in your article, there have been 181 audits to IATF 16949 2016 with an average of about 5 nonconformities and 1 major nonconformity. Can you put that in perspective? I mean, why are there so many nonconformities?
I'll just say this. These companies that got initially assessed, they were the early birds. Maybe they're overconfident going in. So I think this is a little bit of a wake-up call. Starting October, companies will be scheduled, and this is part of their annual, audit, which will be a recertification. So, I see this as not a bad thing, but as a wake-up call, and as something people can use to really help improve themselves. The 5 minors are not so bad, but really the idea of the major, almost every audit really needs to have the companies sit up and do a better job. So as I've offered in the article, it's use this list as a sort of a preventive list to go back and check. Take a look at your own management system and make sure you don't make the same mistakes.
Yeah, I should point out that in Chad's article you do list the five top nonconformances and the 5 top major nonconformances, I believe. So if you want kind of a heads up on the problems people are having, take a look at that article because there's really some good information on where the problems are coming from.
That's right.
Plus, in the webinar, we'll dive deeper than that. We'll do the top by clause and make sure, we don't have time to hit the vital few, but we'll do as much as we can.
Well, Chad, Dirk and I were looking at this and thinking about it. I mean, we're both kind of surprised that the top nonconformity was total productive maintenance. Why do you think that is?
So let me tell you, as I was writing the article, I myself was surprised. So what I did is I went back and looked at the gap analysis. We have done a number of gap analysis, and lo and behold, we are finding these nonconformances ahead of time. So I think the biggest difference is, so this requirement was there in the previous standard, the ISO TS 16949, as preventive predictive maintenance. It's just expanded a lot. But there's been so many changes that so many things people are focusing on, they have not focused on this. So it's a wake-up call to focus on total productive maintenance. It's the top minor, and so it's a number of occurrences, so you could easily overlook it. And it's the 3rd highest major nonconformance. So there's enough in the new requirement that many companies are getting majors.
Well, so
I'll also say this. So in this one, I could be general. The second one is control plans. There, I'm almost certain I know what the problem is. It is the linkages between the DFMEA and the PFMEA and the control plan, or the number of times we need to go back and revise. There are a number of events that'll have us revise the control plan. Anyway, just to say, sometimes you can pinpoint the problem. Sometimes you can say, hey, you're overlooking it. So that's what we'll try to do.
Okay. So and you probably have kind of already touched on this, but in general, why is this transition from the 2009 version to the new IATF 2016 version, why is this so rough for companies, or showing to be so rough for companies?
I'll tell you this. ISO 9001 2015 itself has changed in a major way. Also, I call this revision I helped when QS 9000 came out, I helped, this is the biggest revision. This is as big as QS 9000 in my opinion. So I don't know if everybody is looking at it as seriously as they need to. And of course, what we say is, this is an opportunity, folks. That was 1995, this is 2017. So let's quickly do the math of 17 plus 5. Anyway,
a lot.
We have not had a chance to really, take a look and rethink our quality management system. So here's the time, 23 years have passed. I tell, quality leaders, lead the way, explain to your top management, who, by the way, should take ownership over the system, and lead the way in thinking ahead to what your quality management system needs to be in the future. IATF 16949 is a great standard, will provide great benefits, and look at this as an opportunity to take a look at your system with data.
And Chad,
we're very fortunate to have this now, so that we can take, use it to help ourselves.
And just briefly, Chad, is there a huge change between ISO TS 16949 and IATF 16949? I mean, is it that big a difference in general?
Only because so I'll just summarize a presentation I made a couple of months ago. ISO 9001 2015 has changed in a major way. The high level structure, the leadership having to take ownership, the 4.1 context, interested party expectations planning, the risk-based thinking. So big change. On top of that, 80 of the clauses of ISO TS 16949 has been impacted by IATF. So, it is indeed, a great opportunity for us to take a look and do, make our systems better, become a better company.
All right. Well, if you're interested, this is just kind of a tease for a webinar that's coming up. So if you're interested in learning more about this topic, maybe you're 16949 and you're having to go through this transition itself, Quality Digest is hosting a webinar with Chad at Omnex titled Rough Transition to IATF 16949, Third-Party Audit Findings, Conclusions, and Recommendations. That webinar is Tuesday, August 22nd at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Chad here will be presenting, and I'll be your host, so keep your eye on your email inbox for more details in the coming days. As usual, Chad cram-packs these webinars with lots of information, so be sure to join us and watch that. Thanks, Chad, for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, see you Tuesday.
Talk to you Tuesday.
Thanks,
all right.
Chad. See you on Tuesday. Yes, you got a little flavor of it there. Yes, Chad. Chad, a lot of people out there, and there's a lot of good people out there that audit and can give you information on it. Chad is really an expert.
Yeah.
Chad is truly an expert on a number of standards, and the IATF 16949 is one that he really has a lot of expertise in. So yeah, check that one out if you're in that sector and want to learn more. All right. Well, Dirk, our next story is about drones. They're about unmanned aircraft systems.
Drones.
UASs. Apparently your average drone prefers that you refer to it as a UAS, an unmanned aircraft system. I didn't know that. It's kind of like when Prince wanted us all to refer to him by that little symbol. Remember that?
Yeah.
That little thing?
How do you even talk about that?
I don't know. It was just called the little symbol. That Prince, the artist formerly known as Prince.
Yeah, exactly.
So the thing formerly known as a drone.
Right. Well,
No, I'm not going to call them a drone. I'm going to call them a UAS because that's how they prefer
we already have a comment.
It's politically
on
correct
this article
to refer to a drone or a UAS the way that the U.S. wants to be referred to. So I'm going to do that. Now, it would seem that the age of the UAS is upon us now, and it's a noisy age indeed. And that's what I gathered from Don't Call Them Drones, an op-ed from QD editorial director Taryn March that ran in yesterday's issue of the Quality Digest newsletter. And before I get to the meat of Taryn's article, let's first experience a little bit of the gentle sound of a typical drone in flight.
We've all heard them.
Listen and watch this, and you'll get what I'm saying. Love that sound.
Especially when you're at a concert. Flying overhead. trying to listen to Ariana Grande.
There you go. Well, now, does that, Dirk, I don't know, does that remind you of anything?
Strangely enough,
How about
it does.
How about listening to this? And we can now see it.
We've got a Piper Dune
There
here.
you go. It's a paper
You do
chair.
sound a lot alike. It's amazing.
Well, now, Dirk, I'll tell you, actually this association here makes sense because as I learned, we had our story meeting the other day, as I learned, and I researched a little bit as well, we were prepping for the show, most bagpipes have at least one drone.
Yes,
That's
they
what
do.
they call it.
Yep.
It's a drone, it's a pipe that's not fingered, but produces a constant harmonizing note, thank you Wikipedia, while the instrument is being played. I did not know that.
And they do sound, the
And
drones
they
sound
do
a lot
sound
like the
very much
yeah,
alike. It's kind of amazing. But this story, Dirk, isn't about drones.
Finally.
It's actually about unmanned aircraft systems.
And we're only halfway through it.
That's right. And as Taryn writes, your average UAS, unmanned aircraft system, is now being employed to do some pretty amazing things, all kidding aside, including things like checking out-of-spec conditions within manufacturing. It can survey forest fires. They can prevent poaching on game preserves, predict tornadoes, find landmines, inspect rail lines, and take water samples.
lot of agricultural work going on.
Agricultural work. I mean, so
Yep.
it's all in a day's work for a drone. I mean, a UAS. And as you just alluded to, Dirk, maybe the biggest use for unmanned aircraft systems today comes from agribusiness. We actually explored that briefly. Do you remember this? We talked
Yes,
about
we did.
that
Yeah.
on a show. I think it was about 3 or 4 months ago.
Right.
We talked about this on a show. And factory farms use a typical UAS to quickly and efficiently monitor the condition of far-flung fields. They're looking for things like inefficiencies in nutrient or pesticide coverage, or they check for infestations, or they check for crop disease. Now, human workers, they just can't do those jobs as well. I mean, especially if you have a big factory
Yeah,
farm.
or as fast, yeah.
Or as fast. I
Yeah.
mean, you're going to need to get down on your hands and knees, somebody, or
Yeah.
get in a tractor and go look at this. It's
Yeah.
that's not going to be very efficient.
Right.
And then there's this. I thought this was fascinating. In a project currently being undertaken at Japan's National Institute of Advanced Industrial Science and Technology, engineers are studying bees and the principles of cross-pollination to create a UAS that can transport pollen from flower to flower. How about that?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe colony collapse disorder won't cripple agriculture around the world after all. Remember that? We were talking about that. I don't know if it's still an issue, but
Little tiny drones.
that's right. People were saying, do you know what it would be like if we had to do that job that bees do manually? Well, maybe drones, UASs can actually do
Can
that.
do that.
You know, who knows? Well, of course, there's also retail uses of the technology. I mean, unmanned aircraft systems are being tested by Domino's Pizza, 7-Eleven stores, and perhaps most famously of all by Amazon. And soon there's little doubt various companies of all shapes and sizes will be zipping UASs all over the place, probably rather noisily. And because this is a quality story, there are regulatory and certification angles to consider here as well. Last year, the FAA published its final ruling on this technology titled Operation and Certification of Small Unmanned Aircraft Systems. The major provisions are that a UAS must weigh less than 55 pounds, must always remain in the pilot's line of sight, must not fly above 400 feet, and most importantly of all, and perhaps is the most challenging for the perspective of the mass use, the pilot must be certified. And that could put the kibosh on its use, at least maybe it's legal use.
Legal use.
For small agribusinesses for existence.
Sure.
Not to mention that a fully equipped system can cost 25 grand. If you want to have a system that actually can do a lot of the stuff we just talked about earlier, checking your crops.
Those are high-end systems.
They're high-end systems. That can
Yeah.
be 25 grand.
Less than they used to be, though.
Yeah,
Whole lot
coming
less than they used to
down,
be, yep.
but still, I mean,
Yep.
for a small agribusiness, it may not be that feasible. Well, ISO has jumped in on this as well. Earlier this year, I think it was the same time we were talking about the agribusiness, we reported in the QD newsletter on the show about the development of ISO 21384. That's a standard covering the use of unmanned aircraft systems. So, I mean, clearly there's a lot going on here within the industry, and Taryn's article did a really nice job exploring all the angles. I mean, after all, a drone by any other name would fly just as sweet, would sound just as bad.
Yes.
UAS, drone,
Yep.
sounds weird,
Sounds weird.
sounds worse, you know, but
These things are really crazy, though. I mean,
It's
I'm
amazing.
seeing, and they're getting. I mean, even the low-cost drones right now, and you can get a decent drone for. I mean, really a decent drone for $500.
Right.
And they've got a camera, a high-definition camera. Even some of them 4K cameras built in. They're perfectly stable. It's nuts. And yeah, nobody has, like hardly anybody has a license for them.
You know, it's funny. I didn't choose this clip, but Taryn had like a 2-minute clip from Amazon in the UK.
Yeah.
And they had this really funny. Did you see the clip on that one? Anyway, check out
delivering the pizza?
Delivering the shoes. Remember
the shoes.
The
Okay.
girl got her shoes chewed up by the
No.
bulldog. But anyway, it was really cute. But it's amazing. I mean, you know, the pick and pack operation, it's all going to be automated. I mean, it already is.
Most of it is, yeah.
So an automated pick and pack loads a product into a drone. The drone gets programmed for the location. The thing goes up to 400 feet, goes out to its place, lands on a landing field, drops the package, and takes off.
And the dog comes
in 30 minutes.
Yeah,
beats that one too. But you know, it's really. I mean, the retail experiences as we know it are really going away. I mean, I think this industry is the next one to really be totally transformed by technology. It already has been. But I mean, you know, the idea that you could not even have to, you know, even wait for UPS.
Right.
The idea you don't have to go to a store anymore. I mean, the idea that if you do go to a store, you're not even have to check out. You're just going to be able to scan it and put it in your thing and just leave.
I'm reading a book. Got a second. I'm reading a book right now by James Patterson called The Store, which is kind of Amazon. And one of the little things that's kind of aside on this is that we're collecting so much data.
Yeah.
We're getting to the point where the store knows what you want based on your previous buy. And so in this book, some of the things that happen is you're getting groceries without ordering them, and it's exactly the food that you want, and you'd love it, and you eat it. It's perfect food, and it comes right when you need it, and there's never anything there you don't want. So you don't even have to think about what you want.
Yeah.
Is that really what we want? That's kind of if you like James Patterson's science fiction-y stuff, this one is okay, but it's interesting just because really it's almost here.
It's almost
really,
here is right,
really
and
crazy.
it's also pretty scary. But if you think about that, that is really the way it's going, is to gather the data and be able to serve customers
and give them what they want before they know what they want.
And is that a good thing?
Yeah, and is that a good thing? Yeah. It kind of takes the thinking out of thinking.
No.
All right. A few weeks ago, we talked about, actually the last couple of weeks, we've talked about our trip to Snowbird, Utah for the CMSC show, and that's a show focused primarily on large volume 3D metrology. Well, one of the things we've talked about off and on is probably the most important thing going on with the CMSC is their level 1 and level 2 certification assessment for 3D metrologists. These are the folks that actually use the measurement equipment to take measurements. And the level 1 certification shows proof of your knowledge of metrology basics. It's kind of head knowledge. You know, do you understand how all this stuff works? And level 2 is practical certification. That's, do you know how to use a particular type of 3D measurement equipment, you know, a portable arm, for instance. The program is fairly new, and it's only recently that we are starting to see some people who are coming out of the program with their level 1 and level 2 certs. And at the last show, we were able to meet up with one of those people, Lucas Turalski. Lucas is a metrologist who works for East Coast Metrology, ECM, a metrology services company that's based in Massachusetts. In our interview, Lucas described for us the value of the certification, both for him and for his company. Take a look. We are at the Coordinate Metrology Society conference in beautiful Snowbird, Utah, and we're going to talk a little bit about the CMS Level 1 and Level 2 certification programs, and we're really fortunate to have with us today Lucas Turalski, who has been through both the Level 1 and Level 2 programs, and he's going to tell us a little bit about it and the value of both of those programs. So Lucas, just lead off with us a little bit. Tell us what the certification program is all about. What was its intent?
Sure. So the intent of the program is to basically create a certification program for people in the metrology industry, because one hasn't existed up to this point. So there are two levels to the CMS certification. Level 1 is a written exam, and I took that back in 2013 when it first became available. That was at CMSC San Diego. And then I took Level 2, I think it was last year, 2 years ago.
And the Level 2 is a practical exam?
That's correct. That's a practical exam, and the Level 2 goes through all the different equipment that we use. So the first one was the PCMM, or the ARMs as we call them, and now the second one is also the laser trackers.
Okay. Now, the idea behind both of these certification programs is to give proof to clients or employees or so forth that you actually have the necessary skills to do precision measurement, right? I mean, that's the goal.
Exactly. It offers that level of credibility that customers are often looking for. So I work for ECM, which is a services company, and you work for a services company, we're always bidding and quoting projects, and during that process, customers often ask us to provide, like a metrology resume, basically outlining our previous project experience, any education and certifications. So having that certification is huge.
Yeah, so basically, as a services company, you're able to show your clients or potential clients that the person who's coming out there to do these measurements knows what he's doing, knows what he's talking about.
It's proof that they're qualified.
Okay, so what has this meant to you personally to have this certification?
Well, I mean, like I mentioned before, it definitely helps in winning contracts, so it's a great benefit to the company. When customers see that certification on this metrology resume, it definitely gives them, a higher level of comfort. So it's been numerous. I've been certified for 4 years now, and there have been numerous occasions where customers have asked for that, and it's always been positive feedback. And even some customers who aren't even familiar with CMS or the CMSE cert quickly get educated and always come back very impressed.
Okay, and what has been the value for your company, for ECM?
It's just more contracts, more jobs. So it's big benefit to ECM.
Have you had any feedback from actual clients when they actually see that, oh, you're certified, or have they actually asked you about that at all?
Yeah, so some people know about it, and they're happy that I am certified in a body, that's an accredited body. And for those that aren't, they do quickly get educated. They can go on the CMS website and things like that and find more information about it.
Okay. And Lucas, thanks for joining us and telling us about the certification program. And as you said, there is more information on this on cmsc.org. So if people are interested in doing what Lucas has done, they can go out to the website and investigate how to take it.
That's correct. Thank you.
Yeah, that was Lucas Toralski, Vice President of Engineering Services at ECM, East Coast Metrology, out there in Massachusetts. Yeah. I don't know if you caught it. I think he said it really quickly in there, but it's worth repeating. This is an accredited certification. There is study materials available for it. So I mean, this isn't just you go in and you take a test. I mean, you could, but you'd be well advised to look at the study materials for it. If you want information on this, you can go, as we mentioned there, go to cmsc.org, and you can look up information on the level 1, level 2 certification. Level 1's first, obviously level 2. And this is, if you work in the metrology field, this is something that is important, and it's becoming something that's recognized, and it's going to become more and more recognized as the program rolls out further. So.
Yeah, and as we talked to Gary Confalone, who's the chair of the CMSC this year and also happens to be Lucas's boss,
right.
They're adding to the level 2 certification as they go. So there's more products that.
Yeah, right now there's an arm and a laser tracker, I believe.
But they're looking at a scanner, I think.
Looking at a scanner, yeah.
So there's other things that they're going to bring into this. So really, it's going to be a kind of a go-to for all of you out there who are technicians, and it's a valuable thing. I mean, we've seen in other fields some certifications that really help you in your career. So I think it's something that you definitely want to consider if you're in that space.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Eric, and thanks Lucas Toralski and all the folks at CMSC and ECM, Global Measurement Solutions, for giving that to us. Well, that is our show for this week, but before we go, we want to thank today's sponsor. Mitutoyo Corporation is the world's largest provider of measurement and inspection solutions, offering the most complete selection of machines, sensors, systems, and services, with a line encompassing CMMs, vision, form, and finish measuring machines, as well as precision tools and instruments, and metrology data management software. Mitutoyo's nationwide network of metrology centers and support operations provides application, calibration, service repair, and educational programs to ensure that their more than 6,000 metrology products will deliver measurement solutions for their customers. For more information, visit mitutoyo.com or click on the banner right just below or just to the right of this video player. If you have it down there, you can check that out.
That's it. And that is the end of today's show. Thanks to Chad Keimel from Omnex for joining us and telling us about, talking a little about the IATF 16949 transition. And don't forget, we will soon be hosting a webinar with Omnex titled Rough Transition to IATF 16949, Third-Party Audit Findings, Conclusions, and Recommendations. That presentation is on Tuesday, August 22nd, next Tuesday, at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Chad will be there. I will be there. These are interactive, so if you have questions, you can ask them during the webinar. So keep your eye open on the email box, in your email box, for more details in the coming days. Or if you go to the Chad's the IETF article underneath her player page, there's a link to the registration page also within that article, and you can click on that and go out and get it. So thanks to joining us today, and we will see you next Friday.
That's right. Have a great weekend.
So long.
Bye.